Bolshevik Revolution, calling all you gullibles out there. What's beautiful about social media, internet at large, is you get to meet all these people you would never get to meet, and they are so gullible. There's a huge population in the world, apparently, that is super gullible, doesn't know anything about history. Okay, so let's deal with this. Bolshevik Revolution. What were the Jews involved with, and how many people actually did they destroy? The concept is that between 1917 and 1958, the Bolsheviks killed 60 million people. That number is as follows. Number one is the Bolsheviks were gone by 1922. There were no more Bolsheviks in 1922. There was a revolution in 1917, and then there was the Communist Party that took over in 1922, and then the USSR in 1945. So for sure, by 1958, Bolsheviks were long gone. Number two is the 60 million people that included that number includes every war that happened in Europe. It includes World War One and includes World War Two, includes all the war casualty, it includes the 6 million Jews, it includes everything else in that number. And they're grouped in, there's an estimate about 60 million people were involved in everything from 1917 to 1958 and the Cold War and the fall of Germany and Russia, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that is included, starvation, gulag, everything, all lumped into one. Now, only ridiculously unintelligent people could imagine that a group that makes up less than 1% of the population could be responsible for all that. Why does he blame it on the Jews? It's very simple, because always blame the Jews. But what his concept is, the Jews were involved in the Bolshevik Revolution. They supported the Bolshevik Revolution. Okay? 5% of everyone involved in the Bolshevik Revolution was Jewish. 5%. The reason why Jews actually supported the revolution is because in the late 1800s, the Russians designated the Pale, which is Ukraine, Belarus, that area, for Jews to live. Jews were not allowed to live anywhere else in Russia. They had to live in small little shuttles there. They couldn't be involved in politics. They couldn't be involved in art. They couldn't be involved in most industries. They had to be poor, and they had to live in that area, which is why, by the way, a lot of them moved to Palestine, and a lot of them moved to America. So they supported this. They weren't the leaders. They definitely weren't the soldiers. They definitely were not responsible for World War I. They definitely were not responsible for World War II. The Nazis grabbed on to the Russian propaganda from World War I, and they blamed the Jews. They said, well, the Russians could blame the Jews because people were blaming the Jews for the revolution because there was hard times and that followed. So therefore the Nazis grabbed onto it and said, we will also use that to blame the Jews. It's the masses that are so uneducated, illiterate, and gullible who believe all the old tropes, who are still clinging on to this nonsense. Any questions, let me know.